time for the fight of your life. The time to focus on all of your worries and strife. If you fall to now, then you surely die. Time for you to join the angels and fly. Waves of darkness try to shut down your eyes. They overwhelm you with the hate of nothing but lies. Heed these words as your journey begins. With courage in your heart, it will be the key for you to win. Know that if you don't get stronger.
Well, welcome back to Kingdom Reviews 0 EXP. So, right off the bat, I knew that 358 was going to be an interesting challenge for one reason. The panel board. While technically there is no 0 EXP mode in this game, there is an easy way to achieve it. Just simply never equip any level panels to your board. The reason why this makes things interesting is because while you're not getting any boosts from the levels, you will have plenty more room on your board for more spells, abilities, and items that'll hopefully compensate. So my goal for this game is to complete the main story. For this game in particular, that means just making it to the end of the final fight against Riku. While I don't have to complete every mission in the game or any of the extra objectives, there are benefits to doing so, mainly more space on the panel board. So I mostly skip the more tedious optional missions. Fuck you, Emerald Serenade, I ain't chasing your ass around! Getting to the actual game, things were pretty simple for a good while. Granted, a lot of that is because the level panels just give a +1 to all your stats, and early on +5 to +10 isn't really going to make that much of a difference. However, that started to change when I got to the Antlion fight. Because by that point, I was looking at around a 30-point difference compared to what my stats would normally be. But that was just the point where being level 1 got noticeable. When it started getting challenging was at the Leechgrave fight. Honestly, this was the first point where I genuinely considered quitting the challenge. For one very specific reason though. See, when I did this, I wasn't fully convinced that Square Enix wasn't going to release a full console remake of the game. I'm still not really, but it seems far less likely now. And I knew I'd want this challenge on record on the hypothetical console version, and didn't feel like completing this fight twice. Between Roxas's weird fight patterns, the small hitboxes on the Tentaclaws, and how little damage I was doing to them, I was just getting annoyed. But I decided to press on, beat the fight, and things only got worse. Particularly with the Ruler of the Sky and the Boss Rush. And it was here where I learned a weird thing about the game's auto life ability. With this ability equipped, the first time your HP drops to 0 during a mission, you'll regain half your health. Seems pretty useful until you realize that unlike the second chance and once more abilities of the other games, it doesn't give you any invincibility frames. So basically all it really does is increase your HP by 50%, which doesn't really help when a boss is wailing on you. But then I got to the Syax fight. That's when things started getting interesting. In previous boss fights it felt more like just doing the same fight as always, just it takes longer. Here I had to change up the strategy a little bit to hit and run tactics. When I wasn't hitting him, I had to do a balancing act where I stayed far enough away to not get hit by his attacks, but not go too far to where he would teleport to hit me. Then came the Xion fight. The first 3 phases were no big deal. Okay, the ranged attacks made the Halloween Town portion a bit of a pain, but other than that it was fine. Then I got to phase 4, and it was, honestly, the most fun I'd had doing this challenge in any game. Don't get me wrong, I've enjoyed doing it so far. I wouldn't have made it to the end of game 3 if I didn't, but this was different. It was an interesting learning experience. Retry after retry, learning what attacks I could block, what I had to dodge, how to dodge them, and when to strike. I never really got frustrated, and I felt so accomplished after beating it. Funnily enough, it was like beating a boss in Cuphead, yet more rewarding in my opinion. Then Riku had to ruin it. The Riku fight wasn't bad, it just wasn't as fun for me as Xion was. So that was 358 days over 2, 0 EXP. Not too bad overall, but the lack of attack and defense stats really exacerbated the problems with the combat, particularly with the boss design. While I was right that the extra space on the panel board gave me a bit more freedom to try to make up for the lack of stats, it didn't help as much as I would hoped. Given what I said about Leechgrave, I think you can guess whether or not I'd be down to play the game like this again. And on that note, I really only recommend that you do this if a full remake ever does get made that fixes the feel of the combat.